Welcome to the I Love Recruiting podcast with your host, Adam Roach.
Welcome back, everybody, to the I Love Recruiting podcast with your host, Adam Roach. That is me. So, everybody, today we are going to go down the path of step one in recruiting. So, I recruit and I coach and I teach and I do all kinds of things every single day. And I want to bring this podcast to you all because this is a question that I get all the time. Adam, what's the very first step in recruiting? So here's what I plan to do. I'm going to create probably a 5 to 6 step process with these podcasts. And I'm probably going to create a coaching platform off of these steps. So let's dive right into the very first step of recruiting. Number one, you must know your pond. Now, what is a pond? Well, here's what I want to share with you. When you take a hard look, right? And I'm talking about not winging this. I'm talking about really bringing purposeful and intentional action. When you take a hard look at who it is you're looking to recruit, you need to understand the pond. And now let's talk about real estate for a second. So if you are a real estate recruiter, your pond is probably going to be the board. Now, what is the board? The board is the board of realtors in your area. So I'm going to go back to the days when I was recruiting for Keller Williams. When I looked at opportunities of going into different marketplaces, I would first look at their pond, meaning who was I going to have the opportunity to recruit? Because without that, you don't have a large, well, let's just put it this way. It's better to go fishing with a big old net because you'll catch a bunch of fish versus just a singular pole because you'll get one at a time. And if your pond is just a small little pond with only a few fish in it, you're probably not going to have the massive impact that you would like on your business. So let me give an example. When I was a real estate agent in California, I transitioned to becoming a team leader inside of Keller Williams in Indianapolis, Indiana. And then I transitioned down to Charleston, South Carolina. Now, let me share with you about transitioning down to Charleston, South Carolina. When the opportunity was presented to me to become the team leader of the Mount Pleasant Market Center, I first looked at pond. And here's what I found. At that time, that was June of 2013, the board had roughly 5,000 agents on it. And I thought, okay, 5,000 agents. And then I broke it down into who did the majority of the deals in my specific area. And that was Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. And I noticed that of the 5,000, there was probably 70% of the agents did the majority of the transactions there in Mount Pleasant. So that was step number one. I understood my pond size. So I knew I had a lot of agents to recruit to. Then I looked at the amount of money that could come in from each one of those individuals that I was recruiting. So that was their volume, right? So when you look at the volume, you look at to see how much production they're actually doing. And if you recruit them into your office, how many or how much dollars will they bring into your company? So again, I'm going to talk about the Keller Williams world because that's my experience. In the Keller Williams world, we had a capping system. So therefore, we knew that everybody or anybody in my area that was doing roughly between 2.5 and 2.7 million would bring the company $20,000. Now, if you are a non-capping company and you are a split-based company, this is what I would suggest you do as it relates to looking at your pond. Know the value as from a dollar standpoint of each agent in your office. You might have different splits, right? You might have a split that is 90-10. Okay, what's the value of the agent at 90-10 to you? You might have a split of 80-20, 70-30, so on and so forth. I highly recommend you go back and you look exactly at how much that agent brings you. Because then when you go recruit, you can see, let's hypothetically say that a 90-10 agent that is doing $10 million in sales will bring you, I don't know, $30,000. That's fantastic. So if you go recruit a $10 million producer and they're doing a 90-10 split, they're going to bring you that much in company dollar. So when I'm now looking at the Mount Pleasant opportunity and I see how many agents are on the board in 2013, I then look at the number of cappers that were on the board. And at that time, the number of cappers out of 5,000 was roughly about 1,500 cappers. So I knew based on what the goals were of the office that if I looked at my pond and then I looked at the amount of cappers that were in the pond that I had the opportunity to recruit, I knew what my potential was for the company to grow. And that was really important to me. And I'll tell you why. Because I wanted to own the company, right? So I wanted to own the company and I wanted to have a piece of that equity. So that's what my driving force was, to go be a part of that company. So therefore, as I went out and recruited, as I looked at my pond, as I looked at the number of cappers that were there, I could almost predict the future based on my conversion rates. And again, that's going to be a whole nother segment, conversion rates. I knew I could actually grow the company. And guess what? We did. We went from about 138 agents. Profit-wise, we were doing just south of $400,000. I think at 375, something like that in total profit. In 4 years, we went to 400 agents and we were doing just under $700,000 in profit. It's because I understood my pond. I understood my capper amount, who was going to bring me what, and then I went out and I recruited. So step number one in recruiting is knowing your pond. So here's your homework from this episode. Go out and understand your board. Go out and understand the size of your board, and then go out and understand the opportunity from your board related to the volume and the production that agents are doing. That's your homework. Go look at your cappers, go look at your opportunities, go look at your splits and see how much each agent is producing for you, and then go to your pond and see what your opportunity is. So that is step number one in the 6-part series on how to recruit. Here's what I want to do. I want to share something with you. So if you go to the iloverecruiting.com website, I want you to scroll down to kind of towards the bottom. And I want you to fill out your name and click on one-on-one coaching. Because here's what I'm going to do. For the first 5 people that fill that out, I'm going to give you a 15-minute coaching session for free with me, one-on-one. And we're going to probably go through that 6-step sequence of how to recruit. You got step number 1. You go fill that out on iloverecruiting.com and say your name, click on the one-on-one, and I personally will reach out to you and give you a 15-minute free coaching session, and we can go over all 6 steps. Okay? So that's your segment for today. That is your podcast, everyone. Thank you for listening. Go to the I Love Recruiting podcast section. Go give us a review. Whether it's a good, bad, or ugly review, just give us a review because we want to hear all of them. And make it a great day, and we will see you next time. See you, bye.